What's up, guys? I'm Joe. Today I'm talking about the new Queens of the Stone Age album, Villains. So, Queens of the Stone Age are back with their 7th studio album. I am also back. I'm a little bit behind on my reviews. I got sick, school's starting up, kind of busy. But anyway, that's done now. There's plenty of videos on the way. Today we're going to talk about Villains. Queens of the Stone Age is a really great band. Their last album, Like Clockwork, came out in 2013. And I was super excited for this album because Like Clockwork was definitely some of their best work. It stood out as one of their best albums throughout their career, and they've had quite a few. I really love Rated R. I love Songs for the Deaf. They got a lot of great albums overall. I was interested to see where they would go following Like Clockwork. That was more of a sort of mellow affair, at most, the tracks would get to like a mid-tempo kind of pace, a lot of playing around with pianos and more ballady type sounds. But they incorporated a very unique type of thing to these, to the more upbeat rockers there. Very interesting guitar riffs and chords and, dissonant at times, but overall, like, super melodic songs. Just made for a really great album. So I was very interested to see where they would go next. And the first two singles that came out for this, had me thinking that overall, this would be a very different album. They had The Way You Used to Do, and they had The Eagle Has Landed. The Way You Used to Do was a bit of a surprise. It had this kind of swing-type feel to it. Something we definitely have not heard from Queens of the Stone Age before. I liked the very garagey sounding guitars. You heard Josh Homme, the singer, doing some things differently than you typically would as far as melodies and, the way he accentuated certain words and stuff like that. Which is something you see throughout the album. He's definitely trying to expand his range as a vocalist. Overall, I really like how The Way You Used to Do fits within the album. It starts off with Feet Don't Fail Me, which has this really long build-up in the beginning. It goes on for over a minute, almost a minute and a half. And I was very interested to hear what was about to explode out of that, because you knew it would be something cool. And very surprisingly to me, this dancey, very groovy guitar and drums come in. I liked the way the guitars are playing off each other. They're playing two different riffs, similar but different, and it adds to that kind of groove, that bounce and dance kind of feel going on there. Overall, it's a really fun song. Great guitar lines. A very big prominent use of like a synthesizer type thing in this song, which is also something that's very different for them, but something that goes throughout the entire album, which overall I think adds a very different and cool kind of sound to them. For me, going right into The Way You Used to Do, it's like a 1-2 punch. These two really energetic, fun songs open up the album, and I really do like that. Domesticated Animals, probably my least favorite on the album. I didn't really like it for a while. After a couple listens, it started to grow on me. I think that opening part just lasts too long. The kind of like ascending guitar line with the vocals just totally mimicking that. The song gets a lot better for me when the rest of the instrumentals come in, and I just think that first part goes on for too long. The bridge section is definitely the highlight of the song for me. Lots of build-up and fills going on with the drums. It's very dirty sounding guitar lines. The synths are coming in real heavy, adding to that new kind of sound for them. And just very, powerful vocals from Josh. So this song definitely grew on me. Still probably my least favorite on here. That leads into Fortress, which is probably one of my favorites on the album, if not my favorite. This is a song that, stylistically easily could have fit on Like Clockwork. It has that same kind of feel to it for me. A bit slower paced than what we've heard so far on the album, but nonetheless having those very interesting, dirty or dissonant sounding guitars, which they've become accustomed to in these last two records. I really like the lyrics on this one. It seems like Josh Homme's going a little bit more personal with this song than we usually hear from him. I like this idea of us building fortresses around ourselves to protect ourselves. But I like the line, if ever your fortress fails, you're always safe in mine, or something like that. We could build fortresses around ourselves, or we can build fortresses around others that we care about and, keep them safe. It's definitely a fantastic song musically. I like that, even though it's kind of slower throughout, more spacey, even kind of psychedelic at times, it comes in with some pretty cool riffs towards the end there. To really kind of end things up before the end of the song. Head Like a Haunted House, super fun song. I love this. Very garagey sounding, very rock and roll sounding, almost kind of frantic. And that's something that can, be said about some of the other rockers on this one. Definitely the opener as well. It just feels like the way the production is in this one. It was produced by Mark Ronson, who plenty of people know from Uptown Funk, things like that. It was interesting to see that they were going to get a pop producer on here, but that definitely, it doesn't sound like a pop record at all. But it does sound very, I don't know, tight, I guess, like very like condensed and clear. You know, the drums have a very like specific kind of encapsulated sound, but the guitars are very crunchy and they sit right on top of that. And you know, when things get real frantic and real energetic and spacey, it feels like the band's about to burst out of like a little bubble, and it makes for a very interesting listening experience, if that makes any sense at all. I'm not sure. Unreborn Again is another really great one on here. A lot of great songs on here, actually. I like that there's a good mix of everything here. There's a very groovy verse, very great performance from Hami as usual, but it also has this very super melodic chord progression for the choruses, which is probably one of my favorite like chord progressions on the album. Later in the middle there, they do that just a string section with Hami's vocals on top, doing that chord progression that I really love. So I like that it gets to really shine there on its own before going back into the song. I really like that little interlude there, and I like what's going on vocally here as well. The verses present this kind of cool, laid back kind of feel from Hami there, and then followed up by very melodic sounding choruses. So you really get, you know, the best of everything with this song. Hideaway is one that I feel like I've seen a lot of negative attention towards. It was like one of the standouts for me on the first listen, honestly. I think because it's another one that could have easily fit on like Clockwork, the same kind of, you know, mellow, spacey vibe to it. A slower paced song than some of the other songs on this record. I just like the progressions on here, like the last song. I like that the strings we heard on Unreborn Again make another appearance on Hideaway, but, you know, more in the course of what the band's already doing there. I don't think this song is getting the credit it deserves from some reviews I've seen. Definitely a good one. The Evil Has Landed is a totally killer song. Awesome kind of riff fest going on here. I love that opening riff. I love the drive of the song. You're getting multiple different kinds of guitar riffs throughout. I like how it kind of goes through different interludes of, you know, feel and vibe and different kind of structures going on here. You're getting some riff-heavy driving parts, you're getting some spacey psychedelic parts, and then, you know, out of nowhere at the end, it goes into this very straight-up rock and roll kind of vibe. Reminds me of, you know, Feel Good Hit of the Summer, something like that. Just, you know, a past-sounding Queens of the Stone Age feel here. That just really kicks up the energy at the end, and I love that. Then it closes with Villains of Circumstance, which is, again, something I think is, you know, very different for this band to do. The spacey kind of parts, atmospheric at times, with just Josh singing, almost remind me of, you know, Pink Floyd or something like that. Just very interesting, very experimental for this closer. It ultimately comes in with the full band in a kind of, you know, slower, swingier kind of thing. But nonetheless, a pretty cool closer. It doesn't really end the album on an energetic note. I think The Evil Has Landed kind of definitely served as a sort of finale towards the more rocking side of the album. And, you know, in my mind, Villains of Circumstance almost comes in as like a sort of encore. Overall, loving this album. Not a song that I skip on here. And even though I didn't really like Domesticated Animals at first, it's not one that I'll skip past at this point. It's grown on me quite a bit. Overall, very solid release. Like I said, I was very, you know, maybe kind of concerned, not too much, but just definitely curious of how they're going to follow up like Clockwork, which is definitely one of the best albums of their career. I think this album really holds up, honestly. I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but, you know, it's far from their worst material, even though they don't really have any bad material. You know, in that sense, it's kind of hard to rank their albums, but, you know, I'm definitely, you know, comfortable giving this a very strong 4.5 out of 5. One of my favorite albums of the year, one of the ones I was anticipating the most. So yeah, let me know what you think of the album in the comments. Let me know your favorite songs, least favorite songs. But yeah, thanks for watching. Look out for plenty more videos coming out. And don't forget to subscribe. So thanks again, guys. I'll see you next time.